Greetings, this is Jeff from Enjoy Life Traveling. Today, we're going to discuss, if you're new to cruising, which ships you should be looking at and what fits your needs. So if you're new to cruising, stay tuned. So if you're new to cruising, there's so many different things that are on your mind right now. And depending on where you're at in that process, it can be overwhelming. So I'm going to try to make it easy for you in regards to what ships you should be looking at if you're looking to do your first cruise. Now, that starts with understanding your situation, because you can ask the questions, but the situations are different for everybody. So if you're looking to go solo, if you're looking to do it as a couples cruise, is this a dates thing? Is this a marital thing? Is this something you think you might be doing all the time if you love it? Is this something that's going to be with your kids? Is it with a bunch of family, a bunch of friends? How big's the group? What are you wanting out of the cruise? All this can just be overwhelming when you're trying to figure it out. And so I wanted to specifically discuss the ships and why you should consider those depending on your circumstances. One of the tips I want to give you, first of all, is to decide how long of a cruise you're looking to do. Now, if you're on a date with somebody that, maybe you've known for, a few months and you're close enough, but you don't know how it's going to be over, a longer haul, I would tell you, you probably don't want to jump on a 7-day cruise with them, because if you're fighting in each other's throats by day 3, it's not good. By the same token, if it's too short, you don't feel like you get everything you're wanting out of the cruise. So if you're going to pick a cruise, I'd probably tell you your sweet spot's going to be somewhere between 4 and 5 days. If you're in that type of a situation. If you're concerned also, if part of your consideration is if you might get motion sickness, if that's like a big concern of yours because somebody has had that problem in the past, you probably want to go with a shorter cruise just to find out where you're at. If it's your first time, you want that information out there. And you can't always assume just because you had one incident that you're going to have it in another. Right now I'm currently on Rhapsody of the Seas. The very first night, the ship was moving. This is, I want to say, probably close to my 40th cruise. I don't know, 30, 38, 39. And the ship was moving more than I've ever seen it. In the casino, people were running into slot machines. I mean, it was really rocking heavy. That's not normal. Now, a first-time cruiser that's on this ship, if they think that's normal, they might be done cruising. That's not the way it always is. Even if it was something lighter than that, it may be too much for them. So you're going to want to keep that in mind when you're booking a cruise. If you're concerned as far as seasickness, obviously be prepared, but certainly know that. Now, on to what I was talking about. How you're going to pick your ship. Besides figuring out how long your trip's going to be, ships can vary. So I do most of my stuff on Royal Caribbean, but those ships can do a 3-night and a 4-night. They may switch up and start doing 5-5-4. They may do 7-night. They may do some longer, some transatlantic. So just because I say a ship doesn't necessarily mean that it only sails for a certain length. It depends on the time period, which again is another thing as a new cruiser you're going to want to keep in mind as to the time period you're wanting to do. So with that said, the ship itself, if you're trying to figure out what cruise to get, and a budget's a part of it, if you're looking on Royal Caribbean and looking at some of the older ships, it doesn't have to be the super old, but if you're on Voyager class ships, and that covers a lot. So you are talking about Adventure of the Seas, Explorer of the Seas, Navigator of the Seas, and the rest of the ships in that class, they're all going to be right about under 4,000 passengers on board, not counting the crew. Same thing if you're looking at the Freedom class ships, where you're going to be talking about Freedom of the Seas, Independence of the Seas, Liberty of the Seas, similar size ships. There's some differences, but similar size ships. And with that also, the Quantum class ships, your Odyssey of the Seas, Quantum of the Seas. Obviously, location is going to make a part there, but the reason I think that these are great ships to start with is because if you start with the biggest thing, everything else you do is going to seem less, because it is less, but it's still awesome. But you can feel this letdown. Now, if you go to a really old ship, like I'm on now, Rhapsody of the Seas, it's one of the smaller ships currently in Royal Caribbean's fleet. If you've seen some of the commercials and all the stuff that's going on and the slides and, they got basketball courts and all the things. This one doesn't have a basketball court, no sports court, the one I'm on, Rhapsody of the Seas. So if your expectations is at a different level, it can really throw you off. So I would tell you that if you're a first-time cruiser and you were looking to start out, almost doesn't matter what your general circumstances are. I would tell you one of those 3 class of ships from Royal is going to be the way to go. And really, if you're looking at that for most of the other ones, if you're talking about the Carnival ships, if you were on those 4,000 type passenger, a little bit older ships, not talking the Mardi Gras, even though it's not as big as some of the huge ones that Royal has, it can still be a letdown when you go from one down to the next. So again, I would tell you if you're doing the Carnival ships that you're going to be looking for those ships that are around that 4,000 passenger, 3,500 passengers. Same night, Margaritaville at Sea. That's a little different situation. If it's a one-time thing for you, it's really a unique situation. So as a first-time cruise, it's not going to equal up to most of the other things. MSC right now is nice because it's got some of the newer ships, and it's got some bells and whistles, and the prices is right because even though they're a long-established company in shipping and certainly cruise ships, as far as the passenger end goes, they're still figuring that out. They haven't been doing it that long. So doing, MSC Seaside or Seashore, those would be really good choices for you to consider, and also would be on a budget, something you're going to want to consider looking into. But with all those things, there's differences. So if you're, again, seeing some of the things that are out there and the perks, the loyalty programs make a huge difference. And there are some areas, big areas that, if you don't have that yacht status that you're paying for, you're not going to be able to get around to see the whole ship. And I know just from trying to do, just trying to do a walkthrough with this camera here, trying to video the ship, you end up on the wrong floor and the people are looking at you like, well, what are you doing here? You're not yacht club. Okay. So just to avoid those things, keep that in mind. So MSC, again, Seashore, Seaside, and they've got plenty of other ships. I'm not going to go over every single ship, but I want to give you the general idea as to what you need to look for. And I'm going to try to make this video to where it's not real long. I've been trying to kind of cut down on some of the times of some of the videos that are not tour type videos. Those sometimes just have to be longer. Now, since most of my experience is on Royal, I want to really go back to that. First of all, I think if you are a first-time cruiser and you think that this is something that you might want to do long-term, Royal's a great place to start because they have so many different options available to you. If your situation is you really just don't want a lot of people or a lot of screaming kids, they've got that shit for you. They've got several of them. If you're looking for that party, they've got those. If you were looking for very kid-friendly, they got a bunch of those. That's all their newest stuff. So there's a lot of different options when you're out there trying to pick a cruise ship and it's your first time. If you don't think you're ever going to do this again, or it's such an oddity that you can't even imagine that's going to happen, anywhere in the near future, that might be one of those circumstances where if you can afford to do it, that maybe you jump up to an Oasis class or an Icon class. Again, if you're a first-time cruiser and you really don't see this being something you're going to be doing much of, I'll warn you that if you like cruising, it can be hard to just go, I'm not going to do that again. You start finding ways and you start realizing the value, particularly if you're someone who goes on vacations once or twice a year anyway. When you don't have to, cook for yourself, you don't have to clean for yourself, everything is right there. You're completely being catered to. And quite frankly, it is usually a better value than even going camping. And I know that you look at it going, well, camping, I can get a little cabin for $100 and, a night, and I'm good. Well, most cruise ships, you can get $100 a night too. And you're going to get fed and you're going to get entertained and you're going to have some drinks and you'll have some options where you don't have to go anywhere if you want to buy something. So keep that in mind. As far as a cruise value, if you're thinking about doing a cruise for the first time, you might take a look at, are you going to do it in the future if you just absolutely love it? Because a lot of people do. So when you are looking to pick that cruise ship, and I've given you some ideas, and I do strongly believe that the Voyager class of ships is a great place to start. Take a look, because each one's a little bit different. So almost every ship has a video walkthrough, whether it be mine or somebody else's. There's many of them. And even those, depending on how old they are, they could have changed and had different restaurants or different amenities that they've put in. And so if you don't understand that information and you just book it thinking that that's just the way it is, you might be in for a surprise. Some people love, the English pubs that are on the ships and think that they're on every ship. They're on almost every ship. But if you get on Jewel of the Seas, which is a Radiance class ship, you're going to find out they don't have it. They've got this sports bar concept that they've got that is just right outside the casino. So understanding what that's going to look like for you, it's different feel. It doesn't have the guy that's going to be sitting there, necessarily playing the music. It's going to have the sports going on and all the different games. And because it's right by the casino, if you don't like smoke, a lot of times the smoke will find its way in there. So these are things that if you're a first-time cruiser, if you don't look at and see what that ship has by doing, the videos that you're obviously watching here, but if you don't continue that learning process and do some research, then you might be disappointed. That's one of those areas to where if you wanted to get a travel agent, particularly one that specializes in cruising, they can really help you with that. Not for everybody. Usually, I think particularly for a first-time cruiser, it can be. If you've got a million questions and you're going to have a million questions and you may want to bounce around and figure it out yourself, sometimes that works for you if you can contact that one person. But those travel agents, can answer some questions, but they can't be on the phone with you all the time trying to do these things. However, if you're that person who wants to really book it and take charge, you can do that and book it through the cruise line, and then you can make the phone calls. Yes, it's going to take some time because you're going to be on hold, but you'll have that freedom if you need to continually make the contacts and the changes. Whereas when you book through a travel agent, really all your questions go through there. If you're trying to make changes, Royal's going to tell you, go talk to your travel agent. They'll be able to help you with that. There can be some deals made with that. Sometimes they're able to book certain cruises that they have bought blocks out for, that they've got an arrangement set up to have a better deal on it than what you can see perhaps on Royal's website, but it is not across the board, and it varies even from the different travel agents. So there are some differences there. Keep that in mind when you're booking as to if you want to use a travel agent, what they have to offer. Answering some questions or asking some questions can go a long way to making sure that you have a great trip. All right, the last thing I'm going to put out in this video is thinking about the itineraries. That it's important, and you got to understand and take that time to find out what it is that you're wanting to accomplish out of that. So again, if you're looking for a party vibe, where your ports are can make a difference. Cozumel can be quite the party vibe. It's got all the other stuff too, depending on what you're after. But if you find that party vibe and go, well, yeah, I want to do the Bahamas, that's a great option. But if you're in the dead of winter, you might not see snow, but it's often too cold. In fact, even in the last couple weeks, Cozumel's been unusually cold. So knowing where a heated pool was, if you're trying to do it in the winter, can make a big difference. So keep doing your research on it. Find the cruise ships that have the itineraries that you're after, that have the features that you're looking for. Because if you're doing it as a couple, where you're going makes a difference. The time of year that you book makes a difference. If you're doing stuff that is probably Cozumel on south, generally speaking, you're going to be fine once you get into November, December, January. But again, if you're doing the stuff that's Bermuda or the Bahamas, anything that's too kind of close in, so to speak, close to home, you're going to find that it's going to be colder than what you were thinking. That would include Yucatan. That's going to be probably the farthest north I can think of from a Mexico standpoint. And then obviously need the fall foliage cruises if you're looking to be out and try to use the pools. Even the pools on the ship are going to be cold, except like the Radiance class, I think on down. Those have the heated pools, which can go a long way, again, if you've got a cold day, but you want to spend some time in the water. But if you're wanting to get in the ocean, know the time of year that you're doing it and understand that there is a huge difference. And the same thing happens if you're thinking, well, yeah, I want to do this, but I want to do it in the summer. If you go down south in the summer, man, a place like, Jamaica, oh my gosh, you're going to be burning up and you're going to have everybody else complaining because it's too hot. It's too hot. Yeah, you're in Jamaica and, it's hot. It's very hot. So booking that, and it sounds like an amazing thing, if you don't take into account all the things that come with that, the time that you book, it's going to possibly ruin your cruise. So keep that in mind when you're looking to book a cruise. I'm going to be putting out some other videos that are hopefully helpful and informative, particularly for first-time cruisers here in the near future. So I hope you found it helpful and informative. Please take the time to give it the thumbs up. Let me know your comments if you have suggestions that you'd like to see, particularly for first-time cruisers, or for anybody. I would love to hear those. Put them in the comments. I do try to read them. Start your own comment because sometimes I don't see the follow-up comments as easily as I do the first time. Again, I'm kind of new to this. I'm a small channel, but I'm hoping to grow. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.